despite all of this, it turns out that you are this kind of father to your daughter, because a lot of men, let me go back on that. Some men are like, well, my dad wasn't there. My dad didn't do what he was supposed to. I didn't have a role model. I mean, there are a lot of
Yeah.
different things. And of course, it depends because you can have horrible experiences there. And I say this in the book. I mean, sometimes that precise person who has the worst father in the world turns out to be the best father in the world because of their experiences. So
Mhm.
in your case, and I think you said, I always wanted a daughter. So where's this whole, I mean, you had a lot of good family around on both sides, it
Mhm.
sounds like. Your stepmother, your grandmother, all kinds of people around you. So it sounds like you did have, something around you to help you become the kind of man that would care about, want to care for their children, and not just basic care, not just like child support, more than that. So
Yeah.
where did that come from?
I guess it's really having, again, a mother and a grandmother who were very loving and very giving. I mean, I didn't
Hmm.
need or want for anything. Um,
Hmm.
I, Matter of fact, I met with, connected with some cousins I hadn't seen in a while, and one of
Hmm.
them said, "Yeah, he was spoiled."
Uh-oh.
Maybe I was. I don't. Well, and I guess to a certain degree, I probably was. It was obviously again coming from the traumatic thing of my father committing suicide. I'm sure my grandmother and mother really extended even more love
Yeah.
to me than
Right.
normal.
Hmm.
Um, but they were very strong. Ask anybody to do anything. She did everything.
Wait, I think I want you to repeat that because it paused for a second. So what I heard last was they were two very,
Okay, they were two very strong women, my
okay.
grandmother and my mother. And my
Hmm.
grandmother, I can't remember her asking anybody for anything.
Hmm.
She just was that person as well as my mother. And
Hmm.
so, and I always had a great relationship with my mother and can pretty much talk about anything and everything.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you talk about having that role model. Actually, I don't recall really having a male figure who I looked up to say was my role model, that this is who I want to emulate.
Hmm.
This is who I want to be like.
Hmm.
And I grew up really to a certain degree being self-sufficient. Um, I remember being a Boy Scout. I was a Boy Scout leader. I was started out as the quartermaster and I became the troop leader. And I remember my Boy Scout leader saying that I was going to be the first black astronaut. I
Hmm.
ran track. I was ranked fifth in the state of New York. I've always been in the forefront of whatever it is that I do. And
Hmm.
so it's always been this self uh, understanding of, who I am as a person. But when it
Hmm.
goes back, we were talking about this. You hear a lot of men said, they want to have a son to carry their name on. But I
Hmm.
just never had that at that particular time when I was younger.
Hmm.
Um, I know when I had my oldest daughter, Erica, I wanted a daughter. I don't know where that came from,
Hmm.
but that's what I wanted.
Hmm.
and and that's what I got. And
Hmm.
the Catherine, who was my second,
Hmm.
it wasn't, well, it's got to be a boy. It
Hmm.
wasn't that. I just never got hung up on that.
Hmm.
And even now, like when people have these what they call it, these parties,
Oh,
um,
the reveal parties.
reveal parties. To me, having a child and not knowing whether it's a boy or girl, that's to me one of those experiences in life that it's just like no other. But
Right.
you know, you have the reveal party, you know, in 2 months you're gonna have a boy, or, you know,
Right.
and I don't buy into reveal parties. I think
Mhm,
having the
mhm.
baby and not knowing and then and actually having it there and seeing
Right.
is the most. And I remember Erica coming out, she had a head full of hair, and I even remembered it. I said, wow, look at all that hair. And then she came out, she was a girl. And I was just, again, I was just,
So, so let me ask you this, to drill down just a little bit more. Do you think that I guess you're saying your grandmother and your mother, who we know is your stepmother, are the people that really, even though you didn't have a male role model, the one that you can specifically name anyway, those are the two women you think that helped to make you as whole as possible under the circumstances so that you could become this man. Aside from the fact that obviously there's some personality traits and some internal things that seem to have, to have helped you through the circumstances. But it seems like grandma and stepmom, they were the anchors in
oh,
this
absolutely,
situation.
100%,
They were the anchors.
no
Good.
doubt about it.
Okay. And the other thing that a lot of men in general say, well, I don't really know how to be a dad, right? How am I really to be a dad? I didn't have the experience, so how would I do it if I didn't have it? What would you say to whether it's young men or just men in general?
No, I
Because
mean, I think it's human nature. I mean, it's caring. I mean, for anybody, you know, it's about being loving, being nurturing, and as you said, you know, a lot of people they didn't have the love, and they may say, "I don't know how because it wasn't given to me." So again, I was fortunate to have that, but you know, it's I don't know if I can answer that other than I know that I really, you know, care about my daughters. I care about, you know, family, you know, and I
mm,
was given that. And so
right.
family just means that much and seeing little cousins and seeing and I mean and now when you talk about role models, again, I grew up with my cousins, like I said, my granduncle and
Hmm.
grand aunt, and seeing them raise their children.
Hmm.
I mean, from a parenting perspective, I guess I did get some of that from them.
Hmm.
Um, and because on occasion, my aunt's still living, my granduncle, he passed away a few years ago. But on occasion, I will let my aunt know that I really appreciate the fact that she, you know, took me in when she did in those years. Like I said, it was the third and fourth grade. It was a couple of years
Hmm.
in the first half of fifth grade, and I do as I said, let her know every now and then how much I appreciate the fact that she did. So a lot of it comes from that.
Hmm.
My cousins, they got a lot of kids, and you know, we still get together. So it's a part. It's just loving. It's being a family,
Right.
and I think a lot of it is that more so than anything.
Right. Well, that's a very important point because in fact you did have a lot. It might not have looked like, mom and dad and Beaver Cleaver and the mom and the dad living in a house and whatever, but basically you had a nuclear family all around you that did show love and did show caring, and you did get an opportunity to see what it's like to be a family. Now, part of the challenge for a lot of people is that, some people grow up very hard. Even though you had those challenges, there are a lot of people that are like, life is just from a very young age, very, very hard. So to say, you just care and you just love, there's some people out there who really just don't have it.
Right.
And
And
it's a, go ahead. Mhm.
no, you're absolutely right. As I said, I remember working in Coconut Grove, And I remember this young lady walking with her son. He probably 4 or 5 years old. She's got a baby in her arm,
Mhm.
and she's basically cussing this little 4-year-old out, like, bring
Yeah.
your
Yeah. Blanky
so
blank over here. Right.
yeah, bring and I remember stepping there and say, hey, come on, you know. So I truly understand that part of having to grow and go through um, those type of experiences. Um, Everybody isn't, blessed with what, even though I had the traumatic experiences that I had, I still had a loving
Right.
environment that I
Right.
grew up in. I didn't have
Mhm.
um, somebody cussing me out every day, or
Right.
somebody telling me I'm not S or what,
Right.
because a
Right.
lot of people, they grow up with it. You're not this, you're not that, you're going to be just
Right.
like whatever. You ain't going to be nothing. You ain't never was nothing. I know people grow up with that. So it's not easy.
Every
So I,
every every day. Every
yeah,
day.
every
Yeah.
day. And,
And so go ahead. And
and not having, like I said, I yeah, I guess I probably was spoiled. I didn't need for anything. My grandmother um was a domestic worker, but she made sure I had everything. I dressed well. I always
Mhm.
dressed well.
Mhm.
And that's something what I guess is instilled in me in dressing, because
Mhm.
they made sure that I dressed well. And
Mhm.
it's a part of who I am.
Right.
And I mean, to me, and and I even think about that. I even think about my surroundings in my environment,
Mhm.
and what we're talking about is that's a part of it as well.
Mhm.
Your surroundings and your environment.
Mhm.
Um, Having a clean house,
Mhm.
having things put in place, um, you know, all those make a difference in how
Right.
your mental state is.
Correct.
Coming home to dirty dishes and clothes
Mhm.
on the floor and things like that. It's not conducive to having a good mental state.
All right. Well, obviously, grandma did really, really well. Grandma and stepmom, they put all the things in place.